Hey, are you sober and also living on the earth right now? Then this might be the podcast for you. This is a podcast where we interview people from all different walks and lengths of sobriety about how they're staying sober and sane during these trying times, because Lord knows I'm not quite sure if I am. So thanks so much for joining us here on Sober During Crisis. What's going on, everybody? Quick check-in here at the front. I'm alive, and I'm sober. I got my 1-year coin, that's right. No more chips, now we upgrade to coins. Pretty legit, and I'm really excited about that. The only way I really was able to do that was by passing on what I was so freely given, and by that I mean by having this podcast. I've been able to have some really deep and meaningful conversations with people that I know or don't know about how they're staying sober, and getting to ask them questions and compare notes. And for me, recording it has allowed me to drive home that I know what to do. I know how to stay sober. I know how to put my next right foot forward. But sometimes I have to hear it over and over again from different people in order to really solidify that for me. And, you know, if that's what makes me an addict, the fact that it's hard for me to learn on my own or from my own mistakes, then so be it. You know, I have to use my community today. I have to reach out to the people around me, because if I don't, I might forget. I don't want to forget that I'm an alcoholic today. Every time I forget, I drink again. I think, oh yeah, it'll be fine this time. I throw my life away. I have to start over. And I'm sick of starting over. I did it this past year, and man, I can't even imagine. I'm already living a life beyond my wildest dreams, and it's only been straight up 12 months. So I really look forward to what the future holds for me now, and that is definitely a gift of sobriety. Speaking of what the future holds, you're about to hear a conversation with yet another internet stranger. She hit me up on Instagram. She's at New England Cowgirl, and she's somebody that has helped me tap into Instagram as a community. Not only that, but she's helping me with marketing for the podcast, completely pro bono, and so I really appreciate this person. If you're looking for really specific ways to do self-care during sobriety, this is absolutely the podcast for you. And even if you're not, you're going to get so many good tools and specifics during this episode. So thanks so much for being here, and thank you to our guest this week, Allie Henkler. Let's learn some stuff together on Sober During Crisis.
I think I need a little bit of a break from Texas. I love Austen, but Texas as a whole, I could use a bit of a break.
Are you in Texas?
Yeah, I'm in Texas, Austen.
Oh, dope. Wait, but Austin's like Nashville, where it's like, you know, you're like Tennessee's the belt and everything, the Bible Belt, but at the same time, it's kind of like this little rainbow belt buckle that they threw on the Bible Belt. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I always try to explain to people, Austen is not what you would think of Texas. Like, it just, to me, Austen is totally different from Texas.
Oh, 1,000. It's like freaking Asheville, North Carolina. Will you go there?
Yeah.
Have you been there?
I haven't been there, but so many people have told me I would love it. And they always they're like, it's very similar to Austen.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's the same thing where it's like, you're like, how is this little oasis of liberals? But it's like, they got to go somewhere.
Exactly. They got to find their niche.
Yeah. Oh, that's lit. All right, let's go over some of the little stuff, and then we'll like jump really in for real.
For sure.
The basics are that if you end up saying anything and you're like, damn, I don't want that disclosed, you can let me know in the moment or post, like, email, whatever, message me on Insta. But I try to be really careful with anonymity, so whatever you disclose is totally up to you. You can tell me as much or as little as you want. That's the deal there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty open about my sobriety and everything, so.
Okay. Well, I'm really glad. How have you been doing with the quarantine shit?
Overall, the whole situation kind of, like, my whole plans were actually to travel. Like, I was literally supposed to kick off a year of travel right before this happened. So it's been tricky in the fact that I've had to rearrange everything and sort of come up with a new game plan. But in terms of like sobriety and everything, it's actually been a lot better than I would have expected. I was like very much anticipating a much harder time.
Wait, my jaw is literally like on the floor. A year of travel, like that sounds like an insane amount of planning. It just flew out the window, like.
Well, because of COVID, I just don't know when I'm going to be able to travel. So I'm kind of coming up with like different plans of if I can't leave the US this year, what kind of trips I can do in the fall, kind of like road trips or anything like that. So I'm trying to figure that out. I've been traveling quite a bit for the past 2 years. So
Wow.
It's been really, really hard to like not be anywhere, go anywhere right now.
Yeah. So is that a gift of your sobriety, or did you kind of start that travel life beforehand?
So right when I decided to become sober, I around that time I had started a new job that I had actually kind of put it out into the universe. I really wanted something that was in marketing and that was also remote to give me the flexibility to travel. So when I got this job, I was sort of like, I need to quit drinking or like I'm going to lose literally everything, including this job. And then slowly I was traveling for the job and I was remote, so I could kind of add on my personal travel. And then my contract ended and I just was like, you know what? I really want to take a stab at being a travel writer. So I'm just going to do it. And I wouldn't have gotten there though if I didn't have the confidence I got from quitting drinking. Like I definitely would not have been on this journey at all. And it's been quite an adventure.
That's I love that you said that, because the confidence thing is not something I think a lot of people realize when they're still drinking. Like, you know, you get the liquid courage, but what happens the next morning, right? What happens all the times you're not drinking? And once I got sober, I was able to actually develop and hone skills and know that I was good and getting better.
Yeah, the confidence thing, I mean, that's one of the biggest things I harp on when I talk to people about sobriety, because a lot of people ask me about it. I think even if you don't consider yourself an alcoholic, I think alcohol is so tricky because of how it's marketed and the fact that it's marketed in a way for us to believe that you do need it to, you know, make yourself feel better or, you know, to celebrate. And I think people are so reliant on it. And, you know, it's such an easy thing for people to lose sight of if they're having trouble with it. So I found a lot of people ask me because I think they're kind of gauging their own relationship with alcohol and trying to sort of be like, you know, is it getting bad or is it as bad as it was for me and whatnot?
Yeah.
So,
and you hear about in the rooms, you know, and I don't know if do you do 12-step or any 12-step?
So I tried, I went to, in the midst of when I quit drinking, and in 2018, I quit drinking. A month went by and I was like, this is boring. I hate this. And I went back.
It'd be like that.
but then right after, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so much shittier being hungover and just not getting sleep and all of that. And so I did a bunch of stuff that year to try to really kick the habit for good. And my doctor had suggested that I go to AA. I personally just think I didn't find the right group. And I'm actually more interested in doing it now and finding that community. I've actually found a lot of community on Instagram, and I like that in terms of finding people that I have similar interests with and that we can also talk about sobriety. But I never did the 12 steps or anything like that. So, but I'm actually a little bit more interested in. I have a really good friend of mine who just quit drinking maybe about 2 months ago, and she's been totally on the ball with that. And I just really like the sense of having people that get it. But I just really think I need to find my good, or not good group, my fit.
Yeah, no, I don't know if you heard the last episode I just put out, but at the end I was like, I've been trying different Zoom meetings because part of my biggest struggle with my sobriety is I know I identify as an alcoholic and I have to, otherwise I will drink, because my ass will straight up forget that how bad it was. Like, there's two reasons I feel like I've relapsed, and one is I awfulize my sobriety. I sit there and go, this sucks, this is so boring, this is the worst. I'd rather just be having fun, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Like, big giant fat air quotes, having fun, aka hating myself every morning. So it's either awfulizing my sobriety, or it's kind of like romanticizing when I'm out there. So between those two things, I can justify a reason to drink, and I have to identify as an alcoholic so I don't forget that every time I try to drink and try to control it, I just straight up cannot. I just can't. Like, I just can't. And the spiritual aspects of AA have been really helpful for me. Like, to me, you know, I've done a fourth step, and it's the one where you write down all the shit and then you tell someone. I've done a couple of them. And the issue is that people are not trauma sensitive or trained. It's just me and a regular old Joe, you know, chatting about our issues, and to have to look at what role I played in some of my stuff with, like, my parents, that was super triggering for me, and definitely was a reason I've relapsed in the past. But as I gotten older and, like, realized, like, it's just, like, not everything is for you. Like, you have to make your own program, you know? Like, there's groups that would be like, women sponsor women and men sponsor men. I'm like, you trying to have, it just, I can't have a female sponsor like that. Like, it doesn't make sense for me.
And that's what matters, is you staying sober. So if you have to have a sponsor that's male, I mean, you need to do what's right for you, because at the end of the day, this is pretty critical. You know, obviously people do die from drinking. So yeah, I totally get it. And yeah, I think I kind of carved my own path. I did actually also find this gentleman. His name is, I don't know if you've heard of him, Craig Beck. He's on YouTube, and he's written an ebook called Alcohol Lied to Me. And something about what he said about drinking just suddenly clicked. He's actually the one that put it in my head of, you know, it's just marketed that way. Like, you're just kind of buying into the notion. His ebook is actually called Alcohol Lied to Me. And I think that that's so accurate. You know, we're just bought into this idea that once you drink, though, you'll have that confidence to talk to someone at a party, or, you know, if you've had a bad day, it will make it better. And it's bullshit. It's not going to make anything better, and it just doesn't. So finding outlets like that actually helped me in more ways than I would have expected. Yeah, I've never heard someone say they were able to find a good sober community on Instagram, and I love that. I love that for you, and I love that for everyone that's working for it, and it makes me want to go in my Instagram more thoroughly and start just like not trolling, that's not what I mean, stalking those hashtags. But I love that, and the idea of like alcohol as and the way they market it fits right in with the stigma that goes along with being an addict or an alcoholic, or just being somebody in recovery. There's such a big stigma on it, and honest to God, I think it's just like so they can continue to sell alcohol. Oh yeah, and a friend of mine actually works at a liquor store, and since everything has happened with COVID, he's told me how all of their sales have increased, and it just is alarming to me that that's everybody's go-to. Like, at the end of the day, and I try to explain this to people, I'm like, it's poison. Like, even when people were running to liquor stores to get alcohol to use as hand sanitizer, I was just like, does anyone not see like the problem here? You're using for sanitizer. I was like, maybe if you want to drink, you should drink like Purell. Like, think of it that way. Right. It's just not good for you. And it just does nothing. And once I kind of got that in my head, I just like couldn't see it any other way. And one thing that every time I'm even tempted to drink or anything like that, there's a phenomenal article called What It's Like to Be an Alcoholic. And the last paragraph has always stuck with me. And it's because people will ask me, like, do you think you can drink? And she talks about that. And she says, a lot of people ask if I think after all this time, you know, could I have one drink? Does she think that she's really going to go back to the way she was? And she said, I always say to them, if you played a slot machine for a small payout of, let's say, $20, but the wrong combination resulted in your right thumb being chopped off, would you take those odds? And she was like, no one's been willing to take those odds, and neither will I. And that like gets me like choked up a little bit, because it's so true. And I just have to always remind myself that the wrong combination is just too much of a gamble for me. Like I just, the thought of like having one beer, like, is it worth it to go backwards? And just to me, I just can't. That's what eliminates, I think, most of my temptation is the fear I will go back.
Oh man, that's so real. It's so like, it just like punched me in the gut to think about that. First of all, I don't know, without thumbs, like what am I? But you know what I mean? Like I kind of need my thumbs, and I kind of need my life to be sober because I have shit to do today. Like I actually have like a purpose, and when I'm drinking, my only purpose, my one thought, like the only thing that really drives me is drinking. Like I'll get up and go to work, but I would do that knowing at whatever time I get out, I'm going to have a couple beers, and that would be my whole focus of that day is like just to get that reward that I deserve.
Yeah,
like,
I used to my day was wrapped around it too.
Yeah.
Like I would wake up and I would feel like shit, but then I felt like by the time my body was going through withdrawals, like by the time I would get out of work, I was just like, I need a drink. I can't wait to have a drink. Like that hamster wheel thinking of just like, I want to drink is so powerful. I mean, and I had people that told me, you know, why don't you just quit? Like, why don't you just stop? And it's like, dude, it is not easy, and not in a culture that glorifies alcohol the way it does and makes it sort of like, why wouldn't you drink? Like, why don't you want to be the life of the party? And so, yeah.
And I in the book, have you read the Big Book at all?
I haven't read the Big Book.
Okay. Well, I would tell you about the phenomenon of craving thing that, like, I actually have mine right here because I do stuff in meetings, but it's the doctor's opinion. You can find it online. It's so lit because it's the first time a medical doctor verified that people's like obsession with drinking is beyond, like, it's not because we're crazy. And it's just like mentally and bodily, we have a different reaction to alcohol. Because dead ass, like some people I know can actually have half a glass of wine, and that shit really irks me. Like, I'm like, why are you just gonna leave that half a glass of wine like just sitting in front of you? Like, that makes no sense.
Someone one time said to me, they were like, one is just not enough. Like, I don't see the point. And I was like, oh, I get that.
Yeah, in NA they say one is too many, 1,000 is never enough.
Yeah.
It's so true.
It's
true.
It's
like it says like these allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. And once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence and their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve. And the whole idea is like that it's like an allergy. So if I know that I can't eat strawberries because I break out in hives and like it almost kills me, then, you know, like, I just won't eat strawberries, bro. Like, and people say I'm allergic to alcohol. It makes me break out in handcuffs, and dead ass it has. You know what I mean?
That's a very good point about it, for sure.
Right? It's like my reaction to it's just not normal. Like, I can't have one, and I don't. What would be the point of that? In fact, same thing with me. By the end of the workday, it's just like that's all I can think about. Like,
yeah. How long have you been sober for?
So I have almost 11 months. I have 11 months and like a couple of days. Wow. I know, I'm pumped. I know.
Oh my gosh, that 1 year mark is just so insanely special. Like you just, I can't even describe it. It's amazing.
I'm smiling just thinking about it, honestly. 'Cause, like, I'm so proud of myself.
Oh my gosh, like, I'm so happy for you.
Oh, thanks. It's work. Like, it's really work. You have to
Oh
do
my
shit.
gosh, it's definitely work. And yeah, it's incredible, especially, again, I can't harp on it enough, in the kind of culture we live in where alcohol is just everywhere. To be able to, you know, have that kind of control is just astonishing. And my mom, she's been in the psychiatrics field for like 40 years, I believe. And she like came from a family of alcoholics too. But there's a lot of alcoholics on her unit. So I definitely know how difficult it is to stay sober. I mean, I've spent my whole life kind of knowing about alcoholism and seeing how it's impacted parts of my family and everything. So.
Right. And so other than like the cravings and it sounds like a lot, like a lack of confidence, were there other consequences that you kind of had from your drinking that you're just like, man, so glad that part of my life's over?
Yeah, I think basically the ability to control my emotions and use critical thinking, because I just had that constant anxiety. And once that was away, like even with this whole situation with COVID, and it's literally ruined my entire year. It's hurt my finances. It's done a million things, but I'm so grateful that I am sober right now, because when this happened, I was able to say, okay, this sucks, but like, what's the game plan? What's A, B, C, and D? And if I had still been drinking, I would have just been panicked. I would have been particularly impulsively thinking is probably one of the worst things that would happen to me. I would just make such bad decisions because I would just be on that constant anxiety all the time.
And like, I wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I have Tinder again. You know what I mean? Like stupid shit like that, where it's like, man, I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The sleep is just like the greatest thing ever. I was never someone who was so obsessed with sleep until I quit drinking. And now I'm just like, gotta have my 8 hours. I gotta have my good night's rest.
That's so relatable. Honest, I've never slept. And cause like, I also had to get sober from Adderall, which I was prescribed, but which definitely did me more harm than good. And the combination of drinking and Adderall, I mean, you'll be up all night and look stone cold sober and be completely blacked out, you know? And it was that was my almost like every night experience, to the point where I slept for like probably the first 60 days of my I slept in 8. That's pretty much all I did and worked out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love the idea. Like, our world is definitely so desperate for more critical thinkers, and being sober definitely does allow me to think more critically as well. I love that.
Oh gosh, I just can't emphasize enough the importance of having confidence again, and the way it just changes the way you are around people. At least I found so.
Yeah, how's the travel writing life? Is it working?
It was working. It was something I was like just starting to get into. So yeah, we'll just have to kind of see how that rolls out. I will say though, that was probably, I think, one of the hardest things though, for some reason, not drinking while traveling. That's where I had, oddly enough, the most issues. I don't know if it was just the stress that everyone does get when they're traveling. It was sort of exacerbated. And then, I mean, you go to airports and I mean,
oh my God, how can you go to an airport and not have a Heineken? Like, what? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's insane when you go to airports and people are just like drinking at 7 a.m. and you're just like, dude, you don't have to. So, yeah, traveling was definitely, it's been a little bit tricky and it's taken some time. And I've been sober for a little over a year and a half now, and it definitely took a while to learn what things I need to do in order to kind of not get back into that hamster wheel of, but wouldn't it be easy if I just had one drink? Like, wouldn't I be a little bit more relaxed if I had a drink?
Yeah. So, what are your specific things for that? Like when those thoughts, the hamster wheel starts whisking you away on a ride of fun times.
So I actually have a few things in general for kind of like mental health checklist items. Yep. So certain things like, did I meditate? Meditating is one of the best ways for me to sort of like calm my brain down and sort of get back into that, rational thinking. Meditation definitely works for me. One of the biggest things that helped me was actually, for the first time ever, I changed my diet. In fact, I just started a Whole30, which I don't know if you're familiar with Whole30. You basically cut out everything.
Oh God! So like,
you cut out sugar, you cut out wheat, you cut out soy. You basically can only really eat meats, veggies, and fruit. Okay. So you cut out anything that is inflammatory, and that was actually, after I relapsed, I was trying to figure out, I was like, maybe there's some other way I could approach this, or that would, help me get sober. And so I had heard about the Whole30, and I just thought that challenge of it, because you do it for 30 days, you eliminate those items, and it completely transforms the way you feel, which is why I still continue to do it every like third month. I'll do it.
Wow.
And changing my diet and getting more into fitness and healthy eating habits, really I found became just a positive distraction. So usually if I am having kind of a spiral, if you will, I'll also be like, okay, what have I been eating? Have I been eating too much sugar or something that's kind of messing with my thinking? And that is a huge game changer.
Wow.
And definitely working out. Working out is, again, something I never really did before. And it's just imperative for me to kind of stimulate my brain and not be sort of stuck in that hamster wheel. So those items, I always kind of check through those and say, okay, what am I eating? Did I work out? Do I need to meditate? Like, what do I need to do? Do I need like an extra therapy appointment? I also do therapy. Also, another thing in general that has helped me, which is, I don't know if other people are like this, but I actually create little challenges for me because I found it just stimulates my brain enough to keep it from thinking about drinking. And that's what I've actually done a lot since, everyone's been kind of quarantined.
Yeah.
Is just even challenging myself more, which is maybe why I haven't had as hard of a time with it. And by challenges, I'll do things like, can I budget my food down to like $30 this week using the food that I already have? Like,
wow.
or
so you're not just like pouring a bucket of ice water on yourself or anything?
Yeah, no, not that kind of challenge. Or like things like I want to challenge myself to not watching any TV or any news media for the next week. I do little challenges because then my brain is more focused on that than it is being almost bored and trying to sort of fill that kind of need, if you will, or desire.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I mean, the whole diet thing sounds really enticing. I gotta ask, scale of 1 to 10, I mean, how radiant is your skin?
Oh my gosh, my skin looks so amazing.
Is it?
You mean from dieting or from?
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. We got meditation, diet, workout, therapy, challenges. That's a nice little bucket you just presented us with.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, my skin has gotten great, both from quitting drinking. Oh my gosh, my skin was so bad when I drank.
Mine's trash, yeah.
Oh my gosh, like that was one of the first things people pointed out too. They were like, your skin just looks so hydrated. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not dehydrated all the time.
I love that. Like, yep, it's Mary Kay, bitches.
Yeah, it's all Mary Kay.
I actually do use Mary Kay. I'm gonna highly recommend that. So I'll probably cut this comment.
Hey, I'm not sponsored. I love Mary Kay.
It's so good. Like,
totally so good.
Yeah, so the challenge thing I think is interesting, just thinking about neural pathways and the way our brain works, where, we create these pathways by doing the same thing every day or by being exposed to the same things every day. And then by you switching it up and going, hold up, skirt. I just did the whoa. You couldn't see it, but I did it. Whoa, let's slow this down and let's kind of dissect how whatever the activity is, how it's making me feel, and like, because it's almost like a physical reaction and a mental reaction, and they're so connected. So saying let's not do TV, or like let's mess with the budget and try and fix stuff down, like your brain goes like, okay, now I have to focus on this because I'm trying to forge this new pathway, and I love that.
Yeah, and also one thing that gentleman Craig Beck had mentioned before was he talked about switching up your routine, because he talked about he used to come home and sit in the same chair and drink wine until he passed out. And he was like, I had to switch up that routine because I'm not sure if you're familiar with Pavlon.
Oh, Pavlov's dogs.
Yeah. Yes, so he talked about that, and that alcohol you can become so conditioned. So that's why, certain places can be triggering because you just associate, well, I need to drink. So his whole thing was to like reverse that conditioning of him, coming in, sitting in this one chair, watching TV. He was like, I just couldn't do that anymore. And I had to switch it up so my brain wouldn't go back to its previous thinking. So I think that's partially where I also got that idea.
It's so true. In high school, whenever I would get, because my mom and I have a very tumultuous relationship, and and she was a single mother, I'm the oldest. It was like a lot of clashes, and I would leave and go drink with my friends, and that was how I got through things, and that's how I coped with things. And to this day, whenever I get into an argument with someone where I feel powerless and I feel like just disenfranchised as a human, my go-to is I need to crack open a beer. I need a whatever my weird secret thing is that I have going on. It's like, it's still in my brain. I still have to stop and go like, do you really want to have that soda, or are you just mad at, your fiance? Like I have to press pause and think about it.
Yeah. And I think that's also why, because especially with travel and drinking at the airport, like I used to always drink before a flight. I just get nervous anyway. And I'm always like, I'll just drink and then I'll like pass out on the plane. I'll wake up and I'll get there. And I think that's probably also why that's a little bit difficult for me when I travel. Cause and usually when you go to places too, like if you go to Mexico, it's like, well, I've got to have margaritas,
right.
Or I was in Cuba and it's like, they have mojitos. So I think it's just sort of that when in Rome, like, why wouldn't I drink? I'm at a place. So that's why I do think traveling is particularly difficult, because I'm back in that same setting, but I'm like, okay, this time you're not going to drink.
Right.
All. So,
yeah, I know it's so interesting, because part of that even is, I can see the advertising piece in that too. It's kind of like when you think of Maine, you think of, snow and moose and lobster and stuff like, and if you don't get those things while you're there, it feels like, oh, did I even go to Maine?
Yeah, exactly.
So then you have places that kind of sell you this idea that alcohol is an important and riveting part of the culture. And I get it with craft beer all the time, where it's like, it's just a local brew, and I get sucked in, and I'm like, it's like they have beautiful art on the cans now. I'm like, man, they're selling a hard bar. Like, I want to buy it, but then I just walk myself through it. What's going to happen? What's going to happen next?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that self-talk too of, kind of like walking yourself from the ledge if you're tempted to drink, and just being like, what's the benefit that's going to come out of this? Like, is this really worth it? Like, is that one beer or is that one drink really going to change everything? And it will, but probably in like the wrong direction.
Right. Then you only have one thumb. What you going to do with one thumb?
Yeah, exactly. Then you're back to like, you have one thumb. What are you going to do?
All right. So how have you been getting through this quarantine? Like what is going on? The COVID, how you doing?
Wait, how am I doing?
Yeah, like how are you getting through it right now? What are you doing?
Honestly, it's really a combination of healthy eating. I started rollerblading again. Again, another challenge. I was like, can I, learn how to rollerblade again? Getting my exercise, daily meditation. Definitely, I write down gratitudes, because I have to. If I don't maintain a positive mentality, then I'm going to start wanting to self-medicate again. So whatever I can to keep myself on that focus. And like I said, definitely challenges have been probably the biggest thing. And because I have so much time, I'm like, oh, well, I got to start this and I've got to do this now. And I'm just really trying to keep myself focused. And actually, there's been a lot going around both within the sober community actually, and just in general community of, be gentle on yourself. Don't feel like you have to be super productive right now. But for me, that is probably the best, like being able to take my anxiety and channel it in some way that's positive, not negative. That's really the best outlet for me.
I feel you. That's why I'm doing this podcast, dead ass. Like I was getting.
Oh my gosh, what a great idea!
Right, I was like, I have to pay forward what I have, because if I don't, I'm going to lose it. If I don't give freely what was so freely given to me, I'm not going to stay sober. You're just like dropping tool bombs on us too, by the way. Like we got so.
Thank you.
Also,
I love sharing what works for me.
Oh, dope. Okay, good. Because, big part of this is trying to get people who are struggling to like know that, first of all, they're not alone, but also there's a solution. Like you're not stuck just doing the same old shit. I got a big issue with sugar. And here, it's encouraging. I don't know if I'm ready to tackle that, that mountain. I do work out now, which is nice. I brush my teeth, which I guess is, necessary or whatever they say. No, I'm just playing. But but there are so many things that in my using I just did not do. I just did not take care of myself. And so it has
Oh
been
my
baby steps for me.
gosh.
It has
Yeah,
been.
dude, the taking care of yourself. It was even when I quit drinking, I mean, going back to what you just said about like brushing your teeth, I had to be like, oh, don't forget you have to brush your teeth. Because for several years, I mean, I passed out. Like, it
Right?
wasn't
That's what I'm
even.
saying. Like my contacts stayed in the back of my eyeball. Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I stayed sleeping with my shoes on. Like, it's just like,
Yeah, same clothes.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
wash your face. Don't do any of that.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's crazy. Is rollerblading an Austen thing or is that like a you thing?
Oh, it's totally a me thing. I, wish people, would be more open-minded to it. It's not for the 80s anymore. Awesome.
Right?
I used to rollerblade when I was a kid and I used to do it all the time. But yeah, Austen, we have a really high bicycle fatality rate. People are just not very observant of people on bicycles. So I was like, I kind of worry a little bit about rollerblading, but thankfully I'm in a pretty good neighborhood now. So.
Oh my goodness. I didn't know that about Austen. That's interesting.
Oh, the drivers here are just awful. Yeah.
Oh, I do not
Pretty
miss
bad.
driving in the South. Like that, like the light would turn green and then you wait 4 whole seconds and then you go. And it's like, how
Yes.
are none of you in a rush? Even a little.
Oh my gosh.
God. Yeah, and have you been to Atlanta?
I have a really long time ago. I would
Okay.
definitely love to re-explore it though.
Okay, the highway is just so trash. Like it looks like a giant spaghetti monster, but it's like
Oh,
9-lane
gosh.
highways. Like,
Oh my, yeah. What's up
Yeah.
with so many lanes?
I don't
I'm just
know.
like, and people just zip right like across, and I'm
I
just
know.
like, y'all, you're gonna kill someone.
Right. I'm trying because every time I hear the word rollerblade in my head, I also hear. But I know that's rude. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stereotype you.
No, it's okay. I seriously did it with the assumption people were stereotyping, but it's all good. As long as I'm getting my endorphins,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Do you have any other like little secret hobbies that popped up that you're like, I didn't know I was into this, that once you got sober kind of came out of the woodworks?
Well, first of all, I think I'm a lot funnier now that it's not even a secret talent. I've always been funny, but what's interesting was when I first quit drinking, I remember 2 weeks in talking to my boyfriend and because I do writing and I like writing humorous essays, and I was crying and I said, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be funny anymore, which is like so stupid when I think about it now, because I'm just, I wasn't funny and I couldn't put things together or anything like that. So it wasn't really a hidden talent, but I definitely think I'm so much sharper than
Yeah.
I was before.
I don't know if you've heard the podcast, but we've had 3 different sober comedians.
Yes, I know that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I found my people.
Right, I was gonna say you're our 4th sober comedian because a humorist you're a comedian. Have you ever done stand up before though?
Okay, so I wanted to do it so many times. Austen actually has a contest, funniest person in Austen. And because I drank, I just couldn't get my shit together to pull it off. And it's actually one of my bucket lists. One of my little challenges that I'm going to do is try stand up, because I feel like I would just have way more confidence now than I ever would have if I was drinking.
Oh, hell, and I'll tell you what, like I thought I can't be myself on stage now. And the fact of the matter is, like, when I'm on stage, I knew, like, I'm funny. I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm a performer, I'm a teacher and everything. So I would basically be blackout drunk and go up and freaking kill it. And there was this fear I had that I wouldn't be able to let loose in that same way, because I'd actually have control over myself for a change. And the opposite happened, where I just started booking gigs at fancier venues because I was dressing nicely and I had that glow about me and I could speak and finish my sentences and they made sense. And as funny as I was before, it was just like a different kind of funny. It was that kind of funny that's almost commercialized, of like, you gotta drink your beer and be gross. And it's like, that's actually not who I am. Like, I'm super soft and vulnerable and I want to make jokes about that. Like, I'm cool with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you were probably also attracting that similar kind of audience, people who were also on that same page. And at least now you can attract a different kind of audience.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like, I would crush in bars, but I was crushing in dive bars, and then 8 months later, after 8 months sobriety, I'm crushing at theaters. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, and good for you, dude. That's just so awesome. It takes just so much guts to get on stage and try to make people laugh.
Well, I really relate to that idea that I'm never gonna be funny again. Like, I've probably said that 87 million times before I actually went into rehab.
It's scary, right? I can't believe that was one of my biggest fears was I'm gonna suddenly lose my funny bone. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest differences too for me is I actually listen.
Oh yeah,
when people talk and they're on stage, I'm actually paying attention and not just comparing myself. When people talk in a conversation, I'm actually hearing what they say and processing it, and not I talked about it was Matt Woodland, but just not waiting for my chance to speak, actually being oh shit, this person's saying stuff that I needed to hear.
Yeah. Oh man, I cannot wait until places open up fully that I can actually take my stab at it. That's actually one of the goals that I have on my list during quarantine, is to finally put together a small stand-up bit.
Okay, get 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
So 5 minutes, and this is, can I tell you how I practice? Because I really want this for you.
Yes, okay. Please tell me anything that helps.
All right, so what I first did, because I had a lot of good concepts, but I wasn't understanding why certain jokes would do great and certain jokes that I thought were funny would just flop. And so what I did was I went on YouTube and I just started doing research on joke structures, and I started to figure out why things are funny and what makes things funny. And then I took...
You are so smart.
Well, thanks. It's actually YouTube. YouTube's the reason I can do anything. Grill a steak? Sure, I got YouTube,
Yeah.
But so I started doing that, studying structure, and then kind of applying the concepts that I wanted to the structures and fiddling around with them. And I have chart paper all over my studio, and I would write the jokes out on the chart paper, read them into a voice memo. This is so elaborate. I can't believe I'm telling someone this.
No, I love it.
Read them into a voice memo on my phone, and then go for runs listening to the voice memo, or drives, depending on what I had to do that day. But basically get it in my brain by just listening to it over and over, listening to myself do it. And then I would re-record it with better timing and just keep on doing that until I had the whole 5 minutes memorized with the best version of the timing and whatever add-ons I came up with while I was running. And that's the secret to success, y'all. That shit will make you kill. You'll be killing. You'll be making $5 shows and no.
Oh my gosh,
Comedy
that's so awesome! Oh my gosh,
money.
I love too that you dissected what makes jokes funny, because I think there's a phrase, something like, once you actually dissect a joke, it's not funny, or something like that. And I think there's a real science behind, which is not always maybe interesting to people, but there's definitely a science of what makes things funny.
There's the science, and then there's the art, and you have to know how to do them. I know so many people who have a really good idea of one, but not the other. And it kills me, because I have a lot of friends, great timing, just terrible material. They have so many good ideas and good and then just I just wish you spent 10 minutes working on your stuff. And if you work on your stuff before you go to an open mic, you're already probably leagues ahead of the 95 cis white dudes that are in there just oh god.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, actually I was, for Austen's Funniest Person contest, I ended up drinking and backing out of auditioning, and I was gonna do it my first stand-up ever was gonna be the audition. And one of my favorite comedians, I saw a video with her, and she was she actually used to live in Austin, and I think she might have won that contest, but she was just don't do that. She was my first time on stage was for a contest, and it's just not recommended.
No, I wouldn't. No.
Yeah, I think that would make me not want to ever do it again.
Yeah. You gotta, you're gonna bomb probably 500 to 600 times before you... No, but what I would do is I would take the parts that were successful.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I'm just so curious of how do you just move on if people don't laugh? Like, is that really as painful as I'm thinking it is,
Oh
or
yeah,
is
yeah.
it just
You go,
really
well, that worked, or like, well, and that, or something I've seen people do that I absolutely have incorporated is even if I don't have a paper and a pen in my hand, I just pretend like I'm crossing something off of a list.
Oh,
And
I like
that little thing
that.
of just going, well, not that one. It makes people laugh, and it's worse if you just act like it didn't happen. Like it's so awkward when people are like, "This person is bombing," and they're not acknowledging it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is true. As
Yeah.
long as you're like, well, that sucked. Like, at
Yeah.
least you can kind of get on the same page with them.
I also like if people know you're new, you will get some pity laughs, which will boost your confidence a little bit. But it does make it hard to tell what's an actually successful joke and what should I never say again.
That's so true. Oh my gosh, I never thought of that. Yeah, you're like kind of taking wrong information in to evaluate.
Oh yeah, I had a couple of really big diehard fans, and they would go to a lot of the shows I was in, and so they would always laugh. And the thing is that once I got out of like those places where because it's this one town in Mass called Northampton, it's like the queer hub of the state and maybe of the world. Really, let's be the town slogan is where the coffee's strong and the women are stronger. So, so they would like.
Is that really their motto?
Oh yeah. It's like on like a sign or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
It's where Smith College is, so it makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
like, yeah. So there would be like one group of people that would go to all my shows and they'd laugh really loud. And then I started getting shows in Connecticut, which are very different from where I was. And they would just flop. And I'm like, what is the difference? And then you listen back and it's like, oh, 5 whole people are laughing at this over and over again. I gotta be, that's a very specific problem to have, but
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So any last minute advice, tips, tricks, hints for people struggling? I'm thinking of right now the people that are at home during quarantine going, how the heck do I not drink right now? I mean, obviously don't detox yourself alone at home. You could die. But if, if you're hanging on by a thread, what do we tell them?
Well, one of, I think, the biggest things that at least pushed me into the direction of, aside from like not wanting to lose everything, I think one of the biggest things that helped was, frankly, being really communicative with everyone close to me and telling them like, hey, I really need to quit drinking. I'm really tired of this. And I really need you to support me right now. Because I don't think I made it as clear in the past. And I really just needed sometimes, especially in the beginning or when I was having a really hard time, I just kind of needed to be able to say, hey, you know what? It's been 6 weeks and like, how awesome is that? You know what I mean? Like having some sort of support and kind of cheerleaders to keep, supporting me and really being there. It's definitely, alcoholism in itself is so lonely and it's a very lonely feeling. So I think this definitely reaching out to people and having people check in on you and just say, hey, how are you doing today? That did wonders for me, and finding other people to connect with. I would highly recommend, since we're all stuck at home right now, looking on Instagram and finding, if you look through hashtags, you can find like Sober Nation is one. There's some pretty big hashtags where you can start finding other people who are sober and they talk about it, and you will probably find some people that you resonate with. And just that support, I think, when you're just stuck inside and that might be the only resource people have, I think that that's probably one of the most important.
I love that. So hashtag Sober Nation, everybody. Lit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And asking for help, as hard as it is, being one of the key reasons I'm sober too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. And I'm, you understand this. It's just not easy to be like, I'm really having a hard time with this. Like, this isn't, just stop doing it. It's a real challenge. And so getting people on the same page and just having that outlet of support and being able to have people that you can reach out to and say, look, I'm thinking about today is drinking, and be able to call them up and communicate that, and that they actually take it seriously. Because I don't think until I sat people down and really said, look, this is not easy, and I really, really need your help at this point. Like, I'm not just saying this, I need you to also meet me halfway and just check in and whatnot. So I think that would be the biggest recommendation, because I do, unfortunately, there's so many outlets that are cut off for people right now who are relying maybe on going to the gym to work out, or, just going out for nature walks or things like that to help keep them sober. So I would definitely, for the sources that you have, I think having a support system. Yeah. However, if it's doing online meetings, or if it's finding people through IG, or reaching out to your friends and family, I definitely think support.
Right, because I mean, you can bake all the bread in the world, but you can't. The bread's not going to call you and make sure you're still sober.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what I would highly recommend for other people. And I did a lot of research of other people like Craig Beck on YouTube, and finding people who are speakers about it, and listening to them, having that positivity, and to kind of take you out of that negative place, because you don't want to lean into that negative feeling, because otherwise you could spiral and you might be tempted to drink again. So anything to keep you alleviated and not feeling, down or too much in your thoughts, I think is important.
Facts. Wait, so Craig Beck definitely owes you one, because
oh my gosh, I want to reach out to him and be like, thank you so much. I quote him all the time. He's had such a huge impact.
Listen, and there's so many other people. I'm gonna try and get him right here. Craig Beck, if you're listening to this, you need to come on this show, and then also I'll give you Allie's number.
Oh my gosh, yes, please do.
I don't have your number, but
yeah. I forgot. I was like, oh wait, we're on the phone?
Yeah.
No.
How about I'll give you her email. How about that? Yeah.
Yes, you are more than welcome to share my email. You should definitely reach out to, I mean, he's my go-to guy, but I know that there are other folks out there that's what they do. Definitely surrounding yourself with as much positivity.
It's crazy to me that there are people that just talk about recovery all day, and I spent so long resisting it, and I don't know. I'm really I'm really grateful that I have done something with my recovery. And not that I'm not being selfish and hoarding it and talking to people about it.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why. Like, again, when I saw your IG, I was like, that is so smart and so necessary right now. And I feel like there's no reason. I'm very open about it. I tell people some of my shittiest stories, and just to give them some sense of hope. And I've had so many friends that actually in the most recent months who have quit drinking just because they've seen how different my life has changed. And I've been very open about it and let them ask me any kind of questions. And I've talked about, some really embarrassing stuff. So they, don't feel really alone, because all of us have done shitty stuff or stupid stuff when we've been drinking. So.
No, but that's so good. And I'm so happy for you that you get to pass it on. And I'm happy for your friends that they have someone leading the way. If any of them want to be on the show too, have them hit me up. Shoot them that email too. I'm looking for more dudes. I have a hard time finding dudes that want to talk about being sober. I don't know why.
That's interesting. Yeah, I have a really good friend. We have conversations all the time. He's one of the people I reach out to, or both of us do, if we're having a hard time. It's also nice to have conversations like that with people, like we were talking about before, that just kind of understand it. And you can sort of dissect these feelings that we have, so that way we're just not tempted.
Yeah, no, that's for me what all my 12-step meeting things are about. It's just being in a space where, because I can't always talk to my fiance about all this. It doesn't make sense to always talk to people that have no clue how to relate. My sister's been a huge help to me, but her biggest help is just saying, I love you so much and I really want you to be sober. And if you relapse, I'm going to tell you that makes me feel like she's the one that's going to call me out on my shit, and I need my people like that. But I definitely also need people that get it, that get how hard it is. Because as soon as I start talking to my sister about like, I'm struggling right now and I want to drink, it's like it puts this fear in them, like, oh no no no, like we have to stop it, we have to change it, fix it. But if I tell another alcoholic or another addict I want to drink, they're like, well, no shit, you're a fucking alcoholic. What do you think you want to do? Like,
yeah, totally. It's very different, and yeah, that's the thing is I rely on the people in my life who don't have an issue with drinking or any sort of addiction. And I leave that to being kind of like my cheerleaders. And when I'm having a really hard time, I lean on people who have actually been through it because they just get it.
Yeah.
And there's only so much I can hear my family saying, it would just break our heart if you relapse. I really need someone to be like, I totally get why you want to relapse right now.
Does that ever piss you off and you're like, well, fuck you then. I'm just going to, like, I like get into my head sometimes like that.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah, I'm like, well, you're pissing me off. So, but like, that's the kind of toxic thinking that I try to, definitely like, one, observe, and two, not act on.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we got
and
so many good tools.
Anyone can do it too. I hope everyone understands that anyone is capable of kicking that habit. I never ever ever imagined I would like not be drunk alley ever again.
Oh, I love that. It's so true. Look, if we can do it, y'all can do it. I promise. Pinky promise. Thumb promise, bro. Thumb promise.
Pinky promise.
Yeah. Pinky. We got 2 thumbs and 2. All right. Who has 2 thumbs and didn't play the slot machine? I'm really liking that analogy. It's
I'm gonna email you that essay. It's seriously,
do.
it just hits home of what alcoholism is like, and it just, I read it actually probably every few months just because it's so well written and it's so on point. So I'll definitely send that to you.
Okay, yes, what it's like to be an alcoholic, right? I think I wrote that down. I think that you should read the big book, at least the doctor's opinion. I mean, the whole first part it's very archaic, it's like outdated, and it's like we're a group of men, and you're like, well, are
we?
Yeah, whatever you say. But there's parts of it that really help me understand why I couldn't stop drinking, and just like the obsession, and made me feel really like, oh shit, like I'm really not alone. Like in 1932, I'm not alone. So I think I don't know. I think just checking out even just the doctor's opinion is pretty cool.
One of my really good friends, she just recently quit drinking, and she references that book all the time. And I've been really curious. I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of out of the loop now.
Yeah, it's just helpful. Like, it's just weird because it's like it was written in 1932, and it like really is so accurate. You're like, how the hell do they get like? How do they get it? It's like, because I'm not that unique. Like, is this actually a thing that a lot of people go through?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to check it out.
All right,
that's gonna be another challenge for me. There you go.
I mean, look, it's not for everybody, but it's helped me a lot. So that I got to throw my hat in that ring there.
Of course, and I'm open-minded to everything relating to sobriety, because it's never something you really stop. You never get to a point where you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have to worry about it really anymore.
You get it. You'll love it. You'll love it. I promise.
Oh my gosh, I'm
just
so
saying
excited.
that, like that, you get that it's like an ongoing. Because there are people that think like, well, and now I'm recovered forever, and it's like, wait until you're at a funeral, and you know what I mean. Like, it's always something that could threaten your sobriety, and you have to have. You're doing so many things though that are proactive, like just like the diet, the exercise, like these are the healthy life choices that we don't get to make when we're using. And I'm so glad you got on the podcast and got to like spread that. People need to hear that. They need to hear that life is legit so better when you're not drinking.
It's seriously like, I could seriously cry. It totally, I tell everyone it's the biggest accomplishment I've ever had. And it's just, I could never go back. I could never leave this situation. Even when things are really hard, I promise they are so much easier than without drinking. Like, it's just makes life so much easier to handle.
I love this. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Ange. Oh my gosh, I loved
appreciate you.
chatting with you.
Look, I'm gonna look up some of your articles. So if you have any specifics before I get in that Google, I didn't know you were a writer, and I'm into it. That's dope.
Yeah, well, I just got one of my first published articles earlier this week. So if you go to my
What's up?
IG,
Oh my God.
yeah, and it's for a place that I've wanted to write
Oh
for
my
so
God.
long, and I just was like, when COVID happened, I just was like, I wonder if they might need help. I was going to do it for free, and I just wanted to write for them, and I just reached out to them and said, hey, I'm trying to do travel writing, but this has been postponed. I love what you guys do. Do you need any writing help? And yeah, they contracted me to be a freelance writer. So I was like,
Wait,
what?
Can I ask where?
It's called The Financial Diet. They
Wow.
usually write all about anything money related, but sometimes they get into like mental health or some various other topics. So I actually wrote about quarantine dating.
Wow.
So
Oh my God, I love that.
yeah, and then my site I've been kind of redoing my site and redoing essays and stuff. So that's going to be up within the next week. So I will have to.
Oh, so it'll definitely be up before. So just to kind of talk logistics with you for a second.
Yeah.
I have 4 or 5 episodes before yours, and they each take me like 9 hours to finish. So I'm
Oh
not
my
trying
gosh.
it's a lot because it's just me. I'm literally, I do everything.
Yeah, one-man band. Yeah,
exactly. So
that's why, again, like, thank you so much for doing this. I mean, this podcast is just so necessary.
oh, thank you. And to hear that really, I can't tell you enough how much that helps because it gets lonely over here, man. It's like, damn.
Yeah. And also, I just wanted to throw out, because I do like marketing and stuff like that. If you want any sort of input or anything like that to help sort of get your podcast a little bit more viewership, I am absolutely willing to help.
Yes. The answer is yes.
I would love like more people to have this resource.
Yes. And I feel like this is is this like an over email thing, or should we like schedule a time to?
We can, it might be good to schedule a time. That way we can usually I start with sort of interview, if you will, like kind of asking questions and kind of seeing what direction you want to go, and then kind of make suggestions off of that fit with what you're trying to achieve. So we can totally set up a call and I
don't have a budget
no
for the podcast right now. Like I have $0 allocated.
I don't mind helping for free at all, because I just really think that I just think that this is so important.
Like on Honor Code, if this starts making money, I would definitely pay you. But that's not where we've been.
It's okay, dude. I seriously, I'm always willing to donate my time if it's like something worth the cause.
That's so
sure.
dope. Yo, sober people are the shit. Like,
oh my gosh, it's because we're
imagine?
finally put together.
Oh, God,
we got our shit together.
Well, that would be really cool. Let's email and get because it's a lot. I have the social medias for everything, but cross posting and
it takes so much work. So yeah, when I saw your account, I was like, well, these are like recommendations. That's just what I do. Like, I love marketing so much, and I love helping like small businesses of any kind, or it's basically businesses or individuals. So when I saw your account, I was like, I know that there's ways to get more viewers, and yeah, more eyeballs.
Lit.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. This is so great, and thanks for offering to help. I'm so full of joy right now.
Absolutely. It's an important cause, so no worries. So we will talk this weekend, okay?
All right, thanks so much. Take care. Have a good night.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
All right, so that's it. Thanks so much again to Allie Henkler for being on the show. Thank you to you for listening. If you also want to help out the podcast, you totally can. My DMs are open on Instagram and on Twitter, or you can email me soberduringcrisis@gmail.com. And if you want to be on the show, please reach out if you've been listening and you're like, I might want to do this one day. I need you. Hit me up. I'm always looking for people to interview. So if you've been even just kicking around the idea, I promise it will be mad chill and casual and goofy. And I want as many chill, casual, goofy, sober people as I can get on the show. So if that's you, or even if you're mad uptight but you're sober and you listen, I don't care. Look, I'm gonna leave you with my favorite piece of advice, the thing I say to myself every day to keep me sober. Just don't pick up today, no matter what. You're worth it, I promise. Peace.